I think we are live. Just eating a nice little cookie. I don't eat cookies that often, except for the past couple of days streaming. But it was because it was an interesting day. I mean, I've been looking at these crypto prices for a little bit right now, and I told y'all earlier. I even went outside. Why, you might ask? Oh, Dusty, why would you do that? When this is one of the craziest moments for crypto, it's because I told y'all 1,000 times. If you sometimes, when things are so bad, are too focused in on it, unless you're going to reap the opportunity, you might make yourself a bit crazy and you start thinking of selling. But if you just distract yourself a little bit and you know your numbers, all I got to do is just pay close attention to see if none of my trades are in a really bad spot. And if not, I just have my orders set up for where exactly I want to buy and just let it roam free, basically. So today, I've also done exactly that. Take a little bit of a chill pill, not look at the price too much. Because oh boy, was it an interesting day for XRP, huh? Oh boy, was it an interesting day. I mean, right now, as it stands, we are sitting at about $3.17. So roughly the prices from a few days ago, I don't know, like 5 days ago or so. Let me quickly see. Roughly 6 days ago is what prices we are back at right now. So it's definitely been interesting to say the least. But I love watching it. And 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗍 is saying, warned y'all. Well, you know, theoretically speaking, right? I don't want to be that guy, but 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗍 actually over the week is down, whereas XRP throughout the week is actually still up. So I don't really know exactly what that warning would be for. This week you would have been way better off holding XRP as it's still up than 𝗵𝗀𝗍𝗍. So I'm not exactly sure, right, what exactly that was supposed to be. Anyway, but we discussed over the past little while until where a normal correction would not be too strange. If y'all remember a video I made, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, I basically said even if XRP were to go back to about $2.80, it's all basically within the realm of possibilities and where I still consider it all to be normal. So when people right now look at this pump and or dump, I should say, and say, oh, does this mean the run is over? I respond back by saying, not really. I mean, it's like if we take a look at the entire crypto market here, right, and we take a look at the gainers, some coins are doing really, really well. Let me quickly go to just the general. Some coins are doing really, really well. Meme coin here, and actually that's it. The rest is not even in double-digit gainers. But basically every single coin has been moving down today. It is not just XRP. It is not really just Ethereum. Then again, it's not really Bitcoin. That, for the most part, hasn't done anything right now. And by the way, if you're in the chat box, make sure you quickly let me know by just saying hello or something along those lines, because it seems like today, again, we have no notification for the peoples. So it's going to take a little bit longer to build up a good amount of peeps here. So if you guys can, if you're watching this right now, make sure you go ahead and press that like button. Again, you don't have to, but it does help out. So make sure you press that button if you haven't done it yet. And yeah, so basically a few days ago, I made a video talking about all the negative sides of it. I don't like to cover it necessarily because I don't like negative thinking too much in bull markets, because sometimes it can let you take away. Like there's two main, okay, I'm going to say there are obviously three main scenarios in which people usually sell, right? It's, and this is the most interesting thing I think I can discuss for today. It's number one, when the market, let's say we are in the current market, right? When do people mostly sell? It's either one, when the market just starts moving up a little bit. So that means they're selling into the bullish momentum because they were able to buy quite cheap and they sell quite early for some profit. For example, the first all-time high, for example, the first time the price is up above their buy-in price, they settle for a little bit. Then option number two is they sell not even for a little bit, they sell at a loss. And this actually happens a lot in bull markets as well. The people first of all get excited because the market is moving up, but they get overly excited. They think it is only up because it's been only up for like a week, for example, in this case. And then they go crazier and crazier and crazier, and all of a sudden there's a little bit of a pushback, and they're afraid of that, so they start to sell. Now, the reason this happens most of the time, because most people will not end up with profit if they think this way, is because they don't really trust the trend. They don't look at how Bitcoin, how XRP, all these coins have been going all this time, and that generally speaking, the fact that an all-time high now has been hit, there's still a way higher likelihood of this continuing on further than turning around. But it's because they have an inherent bias of being basically risk averse to some degree. They just do not like losing money, and they prefer to lose a little bit than losing everything, which to me is kind of crazy. If you don't like losing, don't look at it too much, don't sell. But that's, again, just me, right? At the end of the day, what essentially is happening here is just a move back. If we take a look, let's go to my XRP chart. Where do I have it? Oh, I closed it, I think. Let me open it back up here. XRP USDT. Which one is the right one? Let's take a little bit of a look. This is not the one I wanted to showcase. It's still quite interesting, but the other XRP chart is nicer. Not this one. Not this one. This one is actually kind of funny if you look at extension levels and how things have come along. Not this one. Interesting how things have moved over the week, though. We're getting closer and closer. Oh, am I stuck? I am stuck. Frozen, bro. Thank you, buddy. I see now. Sometimes this happens that I have to really switch to USB. And again, guys, if you're wondering, Dusty, why was change your microphone? Change your microphone's overheating. No, it's just for some reason it's the USB. And I've changed it so many different times, so many different things. I don't know. All right, guys, so I don't know how to fix it. Let me quickly check on my phone which chart I always use on my phone. Give me just a second. Let's quickly take a little bit of a look at that. It is XRP. Oh, wait a minute. I think it's right here. Here we go. So we basically, I was doing too much work, right? We basically have in front of ourselves here our XRP chart that was actually charted out over on Blowfin. And one of the most interesting parts here becomes that XRP indeed just swooped back in, swooped up some of the liquidity, got a lot of longs wrecked. And, well, logically, it continued back up from here, depending on what Bitcoin does, depending on what all the other alts does. Because if you start thinking about it, this move is not really independent, right? I only bought a little bit over $100,000 today. I think just now I bought about 70,000 or something. And earlier today I bought another 30,000. You might be thinking, Dusty, what's going on? Why didn't you buy more? Or well, I'm getting a little brain freeze there. Why didn't you buy more? Well, because you got to always prepare for the situation. Every single time I'm buying and getting my average price up, and I basically just told myself, I want to get this number, I want to keep it, a good amount above $1 million, but the total value of this trade goes down every single time the XRP price goes down because they're traded in XRP, basically. The P&L, no, but the amount of coins I bought, it's XRP, which is denominated in dollars. So if I, for example, bought, let's say 20,000 XRP, it's more. But that's also what it would say right there. There's a way to see it differently. We could do it like this. Here you go. You can see now I've got about 328,000 XRP we bought here for this trade. And so I'm not exactly sure how much I bought today, but I'm trying to basically get that number to always stay at $1 million or more. So every single time we dip, I got to just add a little bit to it. So if you're wondering, oh, why is the number down? It's because even though we added more XRP, the dollar value per XRP is a bit down. So that has also moved there. It's just a slight, teeny little bit. And again, if you're wondering what the strategy is from now on, it comes a little bit along the lines of we're going to have to see. This is one of the most beautiful parts where you always, if you're in a position to change your life, people learn it now again. You might as well just change a part of it. But then again, we haven't really seen anything. In terms of a move downwards, it's really not that bad. I mean, if you start thinking about it, yes, it's a 20% move down or something. And if you're in traditional markets, this stuff might be unbelievable to you. But the fact that we've gone up so much in such a short amount of time, a little breakdown or something like that, I don't know. I think just a retest of the previous support is really not that bad. You could again argue that the moment we break $3, it's bad. But even then, right, like I said before, in terms of percentages, in really crazy good markets, especially when you have, for example, a week of gaining in a row, just a 30% move down, which again would lead us to maybe $2.80, I don't think is completely out of the way. I wouldn't be necessarily scared at those levels. Louis says, well, I guess a stop loss is better than liquidation. It depends. And what it depends, by the way, guys, if you're watching this right now, make sure you go ahead and press that like button. We got about 250 people in. We've got about 27 likes pressed, so make sure you press that button. The main thing it depends on, really, is what type of strategy you're going for in terms of if you want to keep it's not microphone driver because it's the webcam. It could be. Could be. I think it's OBS, though. I think it's the recording software that's having an issue. But it could also be the USB itself. But regardless, I don't remember what I was going to say. Hey, little side note. This is the first time I'm streaming so late, by the way. Like, in a while. Can you guys open an apple just by freaking, pulling it open like that? You know, it's not I'm not talking about like this. I'm talking about like this. Like a maniac, you know? You just grab an apple and you just tear it apart. I was thinking about that just now because I'm holding an apple. Anyway, so Shiny here says it quite right. Essentially, I think you only really got two options. Either you settle for mediocrity, right? You settle for either a little bit of loss, a little bit of profit, whatever, and you try your luck again. Or we go hard or go home. And essentially, that's all I'm doing right now. Even though on a daily or day-by-day basis, it may not look good. Look at one of my friends, what he posted a little bit earlier. Flesh wound before hire. On the short term, things may not look that amazing. He's down a couple $100,000 today, which again, for some people is nothing. For some people, they couldn't even fathom this. If we look at my accounts, we're also down hundreds of thousands, if not more than that, dollars. But it's okay. Because it's a little bit of a sting before things get better, is what I often call it. Right? And so I still don't want to hammer in on all the news because I made a video earlier explaining why. Even though a lot of news is in the pipeline, that doesn't necessarily pump our prices. But I'd still like to argue that the cycle calls for a even higher crypto market to be hit. And again, I don't really think the market is over until ETH at least hits an all-time high. Maybe Solana, maybe a couple of other coins. But you could indeed argue that a couple of massive announcements are still in the pipeline. Like, for example, the US government releasing their crypto report in just a few days. But I wanted to show something else. Let me quickly find it again here. So Miles said it best here. In a bull market, we're basically in the business of looking for dips and we're trying to long them. All right, we're trying to buy those, we're trying to get them. In a bear market, even though I don't do this too much, you short the pumps. Now, the reason I don't really short too much in bear markets is because essentially I'm always still excited about these coins. And by shorting, you're basically going against your intuition of all these coins go up just for a short-term hopeful gain. Whereas on the long term, you almost always end up losing because Bitcoin, the S&P, for example, have always continued to go up. Again, this is not finished advice, not guarantees. I'm just giving you all my opinion. But to counter that, and this is, again, a very, very crucial point, this beginning is exactly what my opinion is as well. If you are here right now thinking, how much lower can it go? Right? Can I buy already? I'm again going to tell you, nobody out there really knows. We, even on this channel here, are always inserting some of the most interesting supports and resistances. For example, right now, you can see our blue line, right? We always talk about $3.05. You can see it was a previous top, and there's been multiple tops in the past. Right? This is one of our strongest points. I don't remember if it was a fib extension level or exactly where we got it from. But you can see right now, we basically touched that blue line and came right back up. The yellow lines are just what we drew in this week. The blue line has stood in there for months and months and months, right? So the thing is, sometimes, and actually this is very often, the price attracts those key levels because a lot of people are watching them. It doesn't mean they are inherently psychological or anything of that reason. It could be if it's an extension level, I said, or if it's a psychological barrier, but about $3.05 ain't really. It's just one of those levels where a lot of people, right, realize the price had moved at multiple different times. A lot of people are putting their orders at, and that usually sustains itself. That keeps on going very often. And so again, that's also kind of what people expect here. Now, on the short term, you could have actually, potentially seen a few negative things. You could have seen a head and shoulder here, actually, which broke out towards the downside. And you can draw all these different things in hindsight that, oh, they were obvious. Essentially, nobody really knows for sure, though, because so many of these signs have also not been hit. Then again, looking at this, XRP looked really quite chartable. You had yourself a massive impulse upwards, and after the impulse, you had yourself a little consolidation, and the moment it broke out towards the upside, it was actually a pretty juicy move back towards that previous top before it's decided to, again, in its head and shoulder as well, break down. And right now it's back towards basically the start of the impulse. Well, you could argue that it's not the start because it's right there. Well, we're not done yet, right? Potentially. But you could also argue it's the start of the last wave of it all, right? This whoosh, crazy move. Let's see who we got in here today. Let's see. Dustin says it right. Dollar cost average. DC. How many of you guys are buying? How many of you guys are selling? Michael says, how's your bots doing? That's what Michael said it. Marine says no. I'll take a look at what you guys are talking about in a second. Let's see here. Dogecoin down pretty gravely. But remember, guys, if you've been around the channel for a while, you remember that. Oh shit, I'm stuck again. Here we go. If you've been around for a while, you realize that these were all down tremendously before. So for me, it's all nothing. But anyway, if you take a look at Doge, we're down 20% on that, right? But ultimately, this is all pretty nice because the moment it comes back up, due to the way we set it up, we're going to make a ton. And if it goes down too much, I'll have to double it, but I'm fine with that. For ADA, we're down about 12% or so. Solana is still actually up miraculously, but it's because it's been gritting out. It already cashed at about 2.5% in the past 2 or 3 days. ETH is doing so-so, about minus 5%. BTC is, again, funnily enough, a little bit up since we bought into it. But again, it's not really with much. We only put 0.01 BTC in. Curve is doing okay. XRP coin margin, so our newer trade, is down a little bit because we bought in at 345 and right now it's at 317. But again, we're not deep enough down where I'm actually going to add to the bot, so it's okay. Chainlink is still up. AVA is down tremendously. This is getting closer to a level where I usually double up, but in this case here, it's AVA. I'm not that sizzling to add too much to it until we break down hard. It went from 327 to about 289. Maybe around the 250 mark we'll add to it. We have to watch for 333 though. And at some point, right, let's say here, you've broken down and you're 30% down. It's actually wise to maybe add a little bit of margin. In this case here, I don't know how much this is going to do, but just as an example, let me add 1,500 and you can see all of a sudden it changes my liquidation price to significantly lower. If, for example, add 2,000, you can see, okay, it's still not enough, but the concept is quite clear. At least it gives you a little bit of room to breathe. If I add, for example, a little bit of margin right there. All right, you don't have to. You can also just keep watching this, but maybe you're scared of another 20 or 30% wick down, and that's why I don't know why this just went to. I put way too much. We can take 3,000 out again. I know. I'll just let it sit there for now. I'll fix it later. Yeah. So for Pengu, for example, we're still up tremendously, 71%. And by the way, almost the same time for some of these. Algorand also down. This is the only one where I bought in because the chat was saying it. I'm stuck. I'm gonna just take it away for a second. All right. You know what? I'm gonna fix it first and then take it away. I also don't know why this happens, guys. I'll try to fix it again later. I'm gonna again look into that. So Algorand is the only one that I didn't really want to buy before, but long story short, y'all basically pushed me. And then I also DCA'd not where I normally would do it at, bought a bit too early, and now this is getting to a point where I'm gonna almost double up on the Algorand. But then again, this has just been a really, really funny journey because if you look at it, it's actually one of the most profitable ones I've had. In just the past 9 days, it was already able to cash at about 7.5% of the position. Now, if I double it up though, it's going to only be about 4%, right? Because it's going to be halved. But still, I think that's pretty great. IOTA is down a little bit. Hype is down pretty tremendously, about 25%, but it's doing pretty good in the meantime. Doge in the last 10 days is up about 90% or so. TRX in the last 10 days is up still. ETH is up, and I think from here on forward, there's only one. Yeah, it's my XRP 10K to a million challenge. But again, like I said, we start this with 10K, and the whole point is this, I think, will run at a loss for most of the duration. But that's, again, in my opinion, not a bad thing. Because that way, it's able to cash out these grids, which make it so that we can eventually stack up if the market is not permanently up. XLM still doing good, still 220% up. Fartcoin still doubled-ish. 𝗵𝗲 still 25%. BNB still 45%. All of a sudden, BNB made a new all-time high last night. I think you can take this also out. In this case here, we can take this margin away. Puts our liquidation at 440, but that's completely fine. I don't want to touch that anymore. Virtuals, still shitty. I don't like virtuals. Even though today, I think it did do pretty well because they just announced some massive new content thing. But I'm not sure if that was today or a little bit ago. ADA is still doing amazing, 150% up. ETH from the past couple of months, still 163% up. Our main Bitcoin bot, right, the 250K bot, still up 30K. The main XRP bot, still up 60K. Sui still up about 50%. HBAR still up about 103%. Solana still up 56%. The older BTC one still 50%, and the older XRP one also still 123% up. It's not doing bad. And again, remember, all these, almost every single one of them, was actually at a loss at the start. Now, for this one, you can't really see it. Let me see. Let's see if we can see the Solana one. So you can see the first little while. The first is I opened it the 24th. How long did it take? You can see I opened it the 24th of April, and it was only at profit from the 8th of May, right? So it took a couple of weeks for that to get into profit, and then it went back into a loss later on, but it's been able to grid out ever since, right? In the meantime, bar, you can see basically it took some months. Basically, I disconsider this. Basically, it took up until right here, like the beginning of July here to get into profit, even though I opened it also all the way back in April. But right now we're up 100%, so it was worth the wait. The same thing goes for Sui. Again, the nice thing is in the meantime, it just keeps cash out. You guys saying God Candle XRP? Woo! Oh, baby. Oh? Back to 321. John says, tried copying your XRP bot, was given an error code about no address. I'm going to take a look at that. QWERTY says, I'm so sad on H-bar going down. Are we really though? Are we really going down that much? Marine says, purchases on days like this never felt good, but always give the best profits on good days. So I trust it, buy and hold. You know, it always sucks to buy when things are down because it feels like you're throwing money in a freaking never-ending putt. We all know it. We've all been there. But the thing is, these are also the moments that you eventually look back at and realize, yes, right? When XRP, for example, was going below $2, you think I had a fun time? I was having a fun time in theory because I was able to buy cheap, right? But always do you have in the back of your head, what if we just keep going down for a long time? Not forever, right? But for a long time. And where I bought was actually really, really stupid. Even just today, I made a video when I was buying XRP at $3.27 or something like that early today. A lot of people probably were laughing after that when XRP went back to $3. But I always say, first of all, what anybody laughs at, it's all fun. Right? At the end of the day, right, you can laugh at me all you want, but I know how we're going to be at the end. So that's all good. And second of all, there's no animosity. There's no negativity in my claims here. All I'm claiming is exactly what I'm doing. All I'm showing you is exactly what I'm doing. And what you decide to do is all up to you. If you think I'm a jackass, a dumbass person who's buying these coins, hey, I get you. I really do. Because I understand also if you're watching somebody buy it and it instantly goes down another 10%, you might be, oh, fuck it. There we go. You might be looking at that thing. But ultimately, I don't know. It seems to have been a pretty winning strategy. But again, that's an overtime thing. And a lot of people are very short-sighted. Dusty, just asking why you were buying a town that, I think you mean coin, that's about topped. The max on the fib is 6 to 7. We'll see, man. You know, it's also funny because I was saying the same thing at 10 cents in XRP back in 2020. I said the same thing at 50 cents in XRP earlier in, or I guess the end of 2024. And people always have these theories about the max, but I just have different opinions. Right? In my own humble opinion, even $10 in XRP is really not that strange. And you can say whatever you want. You can come with all your books, all your theories, all your logic. I don't care. Yeah, but the fib says, I don't care, bro. Like, it doesn't matter to me. In this case here, I appreciate your input, by the way, Pepe. But in my own humble opinion, it don't matter. Lofo says, before massive banana pump. Pepe says, I get it. Just saying no way it's hitting $10, no hate. Bro, you can say with your full chest, not happening, dumbass. And I understand also. Again, I'm not ridiculous about these things. It's just even if we end up being okay, let's settle this one. So you're saying no way it's going to hit $10. From almost no angle do I even know how to tackle that, because it's only a 3x. Like if you had set this at 50 cents, I would have always told you as well, like, it's probably going to happen still, but whatever. All right, I get you more, but now it's only a 3x. For example, for ETH, if I tell you ETH 10K, people are like, what? But that's mostly because the momentum has been kind of whack. Well, recently, the last few days have been pretty good, but before that, it was so whack. But in the midst of the previous run, if I told you next bull run we'll see a 10K ETH, yeah, everybody would say, of course, because it was only like a 2x from the 4,500 that it was at before, right? Right now, it feels far away because ETH is not even going above 4K. But the moment ETH starts going, all of a sudden we're at 6,000, and like, oh, 10K is so close. Why? Because you only need a few 30% days in a row, and it's happened many a time. Golden says it's not even going to hit $5 this year. You know what? If I look back at some of my videos from last year, XRP is trading at 50 cents, 40 cents most of the time, right? And I said XRP will go back to $1. The amount of people said XRP will never go back to $1 was pretty great. And it's sometimes funny when I scroll through and look back, and then I realize, first of all, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. Most people are bad at investing anyway. That's one. I'm not saying I am good, right? Even though the results may have shown it, it doesn't mean I'm good. And I don't mean my opinion is better. It just means if I listen to somebody else's belief, I'm going to be holding something that I'm buying because somebody else told me to, or because they think it's going to go down. Most people are not better than I am or you are, So even my opinion here, always take it with a grain of salt, from the perspective that whatever I think you may not agree with. And what if you follow exactly my choices and it ends up not going the way you think it should be going or whatever, and you might end up making a bad decision. I know for myself, that XRP, if it doesn't even hit like $10 a season, it was like a waste. And I don't mean like an actual waste of time. I just mean like, there's something wrong then that made the pump really didn't go up. It was a waste of our pump time, so to speak. But then again, there's the possibility that we exceed all the expectations that I had by far. It could literally be so that XRP, and this is another thing. Anybody telling you, no, it's not going to happen, either is delusional because they don't know, right? And I always say that if you say, no, it's not going to happen, and it's within margin of not too crazy. For example, somebody saying Pepe to $1 is not going to happen. I say that all the time. If we're saying XRP to $5,000, right? That's lunacy talking. 99.9% of the people agree with that. But things like, for example, a 10x, right? Or a level that's been seen before in terms of relative market cap versus Bitcoin, or relative price versus Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it. It's not impossible. Perhaps unlikely, perhaps not that quickly to happen. But if somebody says, no, it's not going to happen. Sure, you think so. And I think it's going to happen. Now we're back to square one. We're even. You think yes, I think, or you think no, I think yes. What do we get from this? You can start gathering all these opinions. But remember, 95% of the people that trade are actually bad at it. Remember that. So if somebody is telling, no, you should be, most people don't know. So if you're getting your opinions from somebody else that's trying to convince you, whatever, first, I always agree with this as well. It's my own opinion, so of course I agree. But if somebody is telling you, no, you should be doing this, most of the time, they don't know what the frick they're talking about. And I told you, I had a family member. He told me to buy a coin. He told me, hey, you should really go, it's gonna do a 10x for sure. You should really get into this. And then I remembered, oh, he's like a little bit retarded, he's a little bit of a because if you're telling somebody, oh yeah, no, this is gonna do a 10x, you should get in on this, that is lunacy, unless it's a meme coin and it's your meme coin, you're gonna control it or whatever. Because at that point I can understand you're that confident. But if we're talking about a freaking asset like XRP, I'm gonna tell a person, yeah, it's gonna do a 10x, get in, bro. No. It's way too close to financial advice, and I don't like to make guarantees at all, because essentially, if I was that certain, I'd put my entire freaking livelihood on the line. I'd along with every single cent I have. But the reason I don't is because you're not 100% sure. Again, it's very likely, which is still why we've got millions of dollars in this freaking coin, right? But there is still a counter to it all. Anyway, let's see a few things. Peppa says, remember this cycle, so many are going to round trip, it will be so bad. 90% of the holders will hold their bags back, 99% down in the bear market. Yeah. but you can't stop that. And I'll probably give a lot of more videos on this as the market moves up, but I've already stated before, right? My original opinion was sell 1% every day of 2025. It then shifted because Trump, basically. And if he did it, by the way, it would have worked out pretty great at the start, but then after a month, he would have realized, ooh, right, we're going down so hard. I'm not really sure if he wanted to keep selling. Then again, if you did, you could have actually bought back cheaper later on, so it still could have evened itself out. But regardless, right now it basically shifted to where I said, okay, we need to start selling probably within a month from now. And I'm not saying everything, I'm saying take profits. But I actually stated earlier, basically from August on forth, it's probably wise to start selling like 1% or so a day. Now, I kind of front ran that by already exiting a bit of my position here, which is about 10% of the position in one day. But I'm going to also sell a lot of spot. And you might think, Dusty, why? Because you believe in this long term, right? You think it's going to go way higher. Yeah, but you never know. And so I think a good thing to get into the habit of is to just keep the flow consistent. I said this before. You need to always remember the most important thing in any market, especially when it comes to trading, is flow. If your money is staying stuck, kind of like mine is doing right here, first of all, you get used to the money. So I've now gotten used to being $400,000 in profit. So every time it goes down, it feels like I'm losing, right? If I was constantly in and out, every single time it made a move, it wouldn't affect me the same way because either I cashed out this 400, for example, and if I put it back in, it's a new trade, a fresh thing. If I'm losing on that, I can always adjust to hopefully make it a winning trade again. But it's different than basically running down all your P&L. Depending on what type of person you are, some people prefer to have it in P&L, not closed, either for tax purposes or because this way they're never really losing, right? They're just losing the quote-unquote gains. But it depends. What are your opinions on brokers like Caleb and Brown? You think this is a good option or bad one, and why? If you're, this is a really funny one. If you are asking me about that and you're talking about cryptos, that's crazy, all right? That's diabolical. I'm gonna even take a look at it for you. Whoever's doing that, and you're not below the age of, if you're above the age of 75, thumbs up. If you're anywhere below that and you're using out of every single place, that's what you're using, damn. I've never heard anybody ever say that. It's not that it's bad, it's just I don't even know how you got to it. It's like somebody in this chat saying they're buying through BlackRock, right? Why would you go and do that? Why not just buy it on your own? Why give them the fee? It's not even about the fee. It's about the principle as well. Why use them? And with this CMB, I just don't know why anybody would. Lewis says, yeah, dude, trolls. I think a lot of people are not, by the way, a lot of y'all like to quickly say troll, troll, troll. I still stand on the idea that most people here are not trolls. They're just people with really strong opinions. I mean, some people are trolls, obviously. But a lot of people, they're not even trolling. They just have an opinion that's either a little bit, a little bit on the edge, or just a really, really strong one that you disagree with. And you call them a troll. They're not necessarily that. Could be, but not necessarily. Bobby says, I'm a real cool troll, though. Oh, good. Let's see. Randy says Zach is pushing it. You're talking about pushing the price, or what are you talking about? Let's see. Big Boo says, I believe, just my opinion, $3 will be new cycle low after the run. Yeah, it's very much possible. But not that likely, but depending on how high we go. I always like to think of about 90% down. But it could also be more towards the 75%, right? And if we actually are able to go to, for example, $12, yeah, and it goes down, 75%, something like that, I could see $3 potentially being the low. But that's, again, a pretty good scenario. Lofo says, no bear market this cycle. I still feel as if the part of it which says cycle means it's bull and bear, right? It's rotating. I believe right now we're in a bull. We have been since November 2022. And probably maybe, around August, so maybe even as close as next month, to January of next year is going to shift around. And here's the kicker, right? The last little bit of time is usually the greatest. But you have to also get that that this, what we've seen, is pretty great. If this were to last for 3 weeks, it could be over afterwards. Because altcoins all of a sudden are triple their all-time high or double. Sometimes it really goes that fast unnoticed. Because we always keep saying alt season, alt season, alt season. I kept on saying now already that basically if you only look at price action, this is altcoin season. It's just basically looking like the beginning phases of it. We're nothing is that crazy just quite yet. But if we keep this up one more week, a lot of coins are up 125% in just like 2 weeks, right? At what point will you start calling it this is the craziest of times? Well, you will only start saying that most of the time after the fact, like a long time after. And that's why if I look at older videos, I've said so many times, oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Most of it has come through pretty nicely because we just follow the cycles, and the cycles thus far keep following through as well. All I got to do now every single day, in reality, right, is just keep telling you, oh, I told you so, oh, I told you so. See what's happening? I told you so, I told you so. What's the point of that? A lot of people here are new. A lot of people do not believe you when the prices are down. They only believe when prices are up. Just wait for fun, guys. Let's do a little fun prediction, right? I still expect this trade to be more than $700,000 in the plus. I still expect this will turn into a profit. This will turn into a profit. ETH will probably be more than $100,000 in the plus if I just keep them this way. BTC, I don't know. I'm not going to push anything out there. I think probably 40K. But, you know, Bitcoin just have for the fun of it. And the funny thing is, a lot of people right now are saying, this guy's a freaking ridiculous. A little while ago, this trade was at a loss, $100,000 at a loss. And I said, don't worry, we'll flip it around. I'm not going to sell before $400,000 in the plus. Now we're at 400,000 and say higher, right? And my original goal in the back of my head was about $1 million plus before I'd probably take out a good chunk. And even now I'm thinking $1 million is not that much. So, but you got to realize if you're thinking $1 million, you got to probably put your targets a bit down, right? Because you never want to really go for your original target if you're doing these major swings. If you're doing a little bit more technical trading or you're doing more higher frequency, I do believe you should stick close to your target and actually write down exactly what your targets are, where you're entering, where you're exiting. Keep it on paper. I always say it's nice, or a freaking sheet. Right? My main analyst, also does everything in a freaking sheet. But I don't know. I might be a little bit too. I need to have it on paper. If I do it on Google, man, my brain explodes. Regardless, the same thing goes for a few weeks ago. This trade was at minus 20K or something like that. I said, let's put up the receipts. Let's put up the receipts. You know, I'll show you exactly what I mean here, because I think I can easily find it. If I go in here and I try to find my own tweets, give me just a second. I'm trying to find my own tweets here just to show you. If I can. How do I go about finding this? XRP trade at the DustyBC, maybe like this. Oh, this is not what I meant, but this is also funny. A while back, XRP holders prepare for takeoff. $1.17, I can't believe it. Oh, and that's really funny. Lots of people sold XRP below $1 or even below 90 cents. Sucks to be you. This is not what I was searching for, but it is funny to watch. Old XRP price talk. Look at the XP price, and I'm pumping like crazy. But people are realizing Ripple will win. Buying the XRP dip respectfully at 65 cents. I can't let it sit. This is funny. Not selling XRP below $12. The people selling now will be the ones buying XRP above $3 again. That was actually only 2 years ago. Let's see. What am I even? Do I have any even older? How can I type in for date? Here we go. This is my post. So this is when was this? 9th of July. So this is like after a little bit, but basically a few days before that, I was actually minus. Maybe I think earlier this morning even, right? Because this is the nighttime for me basically. Earlier this was at minus 20,000. And funnily enough, it went to plus 2,000 overnight. I was like, ooh, damn. All of a sudden, it was plus like $65,000 the next day. So that was really interesting. But I said, I want to see it in 200K profits soon. And then somebody said here, you'll be waiting approximately 70 years. And some other people were saying some other things like, oh, do you think that's realistic? It's like a 30% move. Yeah, that's pretty realistic. And then pretty quickly afterwards, let's see, view quotes. Did I quote myself? Here you go. My $850,000 trade is up $155,000. I said 200K soon, but I didn't expect it to be only 2 days. And then again, in my head, I think, wait, maybe I also commented it here. You never see people do this with stocks, and that's what will keep this space separated from real serious business. Retail is such a joke. People do this with stocks all the time. You're just not on the right Twitter. But let's go back. Here we go. What did I comment? If we go lower, I'll add more to this 700K XRP long. I've got time. We're going so much higher, in my opinion. I still stand with that. I still stand with that fully. Sun says 2 days, damn. But remember, if it went the opposite side, I'd be down tremendously, right? If the price went 20% down, it would just be like before, where the 650K, whatever, would be minus the 100,000 or whatever. JB says, hey Dusty, I tried to reach out to you on X. There's a DustyBC with a 0 at the end without the blue check mark. Yeah, there is hundreds, maybe 1,000 different accounts that try to replicate it. Mostly Nigerians trying to scam y'all, so be careful. Jefe says, why would you cash out millions in a day is the real question. Why not? Why would you not cash out millions in a day? John says, my speakers are still blown up, by the way. Shit, John. John, I messed up, John. That was not good, John. I remember that. Dusty, have you used Paynex GPT? No, I have not. I think. I've used Bybit GPT. Or Trade GPT on Bybit, I remember. Ledger doesn't let you cash out millions a day, does it? Oh, no. So, you see, now, the little thing is, I like Ledger. Don't get me wrong. But for actually making money, in that sense, unless you are a DeFi guy and you're fine with Hyperliquid or something like that, I literally do not think a Ledger is the most important thing. Unless you're a person that's... Because, again, you got to understand, Ledger has a lot of other different problems. People always come up to me and say, Dusty, you always should be saying, not your keys, not your coins, not your keys, not your coins. And the funny thing is, I to some extent agree, but mostly I don't. Because most people here are not in it to hold their freaking Bitcoin on this thing forever and ever and ever. Most people are here to make freaking money. All right? And the easiest way to make your money work for you and do some is on an exchange. The counter is, if the counterparty, the exchanger, goes bust, yeah, you're in a bit of a situation. But essentially, it's, you know, if you're on your ledger, you can stake it. And again, there are different things you could do. You could still use DeFi protocols, whether you could still trade on Hyperliquid, things like this. But it's different. It's just going to not allow you necessarily to really, first of all, be as liquid. And second of all, I think have as many opportunities. I did just reach out to your real ex with the blue check mark and still waiting to hear back from you, unless Instagram is better. JB, we get a few, I'm going to say maybe 100 messages a day or something. So unless you stated the purpose and it was something we can do something with, I don't think it's going to get a response. It's a lot of messages, dog. And again, there's a lot of spam, but also people always try to propose things, maybe this, maybe that. It's a lot. So I can't go into every message. It's just impossible. So it's mostly just a quick glance. Oh, can I do it? But it's, yeah. You understand? Sometimes people think it's like, oh, I didn't see it or something like that. Sometimes I even see it. But it's just the fact that I have to start up. You know, let's say as an example, right? If you take the social, so you take the 4 social, whatever. Let's say you get 132 messages a day. This is not your thing, right? The message is not doing anything for me. Most of the time, you're trying to help somebody out. But you've also got all these other platforms. You also got the video. You gotta understand. If we're also taking YouTube comments in that, you can't physically, right, time-wise, respond to everything if you also want to get stuff done every day. So you have to be really selective. And you know, I'm gonna say about half the people say, hey, can I say something? Can I ask you something? Then about 30-40% is begging, and then 10% is real questions and stuff. But also, if it's a long-ass question or a proposal, it's like, oh, you know, and now I have so many things to get done still. I did state in the reason the question was about Paynex. All right, maybe I'll be able to help you then. Maybe I'll take a look if that's the thing. Are you into AI too or not really? I have a whole AI channel. Yeah, I'm very much into AI. Diogo says, "Hey, Dusty, I have a little bit of XRP. You're giving real good advice. I'm not giving any advice, all right? Nothing I say is financial advice. I'm just giving my own opinion, and you can do with that as you please." That's why I use 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗏. I need to be liquid, but you made me feel like this isn't the right move, is it? Man, if you're having a good time, bro, do your thing. Nobody's stopping you. I've just never heard anybody say, "Oh, what are you trading your crypto on?" "Oh yeah, I'm using 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗏." There's been 0 people in my life, and if I go around, I think the probability of anybody that I know who trades crypto having even heard of this is pretty small. Blowfin tutorial. I have a Blowfin tutorial. Just type in DustyBC. Maybe let me see if I can find it even. If you type in DustyBC Blowfin tutorial, you can't find some. I've made multiple tutorials, I think, in the past. Let me see. Here for Bitcoin, we expect still that over the next few months, even though there may be some volatility, that the general direction is going to be upwards. And so all we got to do here basically is long, generally speaking, just long any crypto for that matter. And as long as our leverage is low enough so we do not get liquidated, it might look bad. It might be at a loss for a little bit, but ultimately we'll be able to flip it back around. That's what this signifies here. We'll be able to flip it back around as eventually within the next few months, we all expect is going to be between, let's just say, June and November of this next year. We're going to be at a peak. So if you could just hold on till, maybe a half a year from now, within a total selling every time you get some profit and buying every single time it starts dipping again. But generally speaking, just longing because we know where we're headed, you'll be able to make a lot of money over time. And so when we talk, this is pretty nice. This was a pretty good video I made. I forgot I made this. Oh, and here's the XRP. Did I have a long open here? Too bad. Here is actually, we didn't even have the XRP long here yet. It's only $7,000 we had in. I think this is where I started building the position. But this is only $1.20 per XRP, the good old freaking days. And what am I doing in that? Longing XRP and longing Bitcoin, I think. And I explained the structure of my old video. You want to know a fun fact? In this old video, what is the Bitcoin price at? 26,000. I have videos where Bitcoin is still at 2,000, etc. But this is like my trading tutorial. I sometimes find it funny if I look back and realize all you had to do throughout all this time, right, is literally just buy XRP, also 50 cents in here. It's that funny. Anyway, but yeah, that was a pretty good tutorial in hindsight. Well, what a good background also, huh? I've lowered my game. This was a freaking amazing background. What did I do? Breaking news, 𝗓𝗓 ETF is approved this month and becomes digital money. Check 𝗓𝗓. Oh, you're talking about a random ass coin, or you're talking about 𝗓𝗓, or you're talking about 𝗓𝗓 or something. In 2021, Dusty was leveraged XRP 15x. Let me see, man. You know how many times I've traded XRP? You don't even want to know. I don't even know what I've done here, man. What is this? Why would you not do it? Well, I first have to say that whatever I've just shown you in the form of longing can actually also be done in the form of shorting, and it would basically be the draw with the best of my abilities, but let's just $100, we can trade with it as if it's $5,000. So why would you do that? Why would you not do that? Let's say we start, I've decided to draw with the best of my abilities, but let's just say as an example, we had $1,000 in our account and we decided to open a 10x long on XRP at $1 per XRP. That meant we could buy ourselves $10,000 worth of XRP or 10,000 XRP. So we put $1,000 in at $1 in XRP. You get it, right? If we were to buy it on spot, what would happen if we were to go to $2 per XRP? Well, we turn our $1,000 into $2,000. But with leverage here, the moment it goes to $2, because we bought it with 10x leverage, that means it increases about 100%.
Well, but it's for the entire position. So in this case here, we had a $10,000 position. We had 10,000 XRP. If now it's $2 per XRP, we now have $20,000. So on just $1,000, we now were able to turn it into $20,000. And that is what you often see me show in my videos. As you can see right here, we put about $1,000 in. Right now it's
this is on Bybit. So this is my old ass XRP trade. I still have this open as well, by the way. You see, this is freaking 7 months ago, and I still have it open.
That's about $32,000 worth of profit.
But here you can see for fun though, that if I start looking back at older videos, I'll see some of the trades and when they were made. Since every single one of the trades I've got on here has been, basically public, because we've done every single one of them together, either because you guys dared me or because I thought it was a good idea for that. Let me show you the Bybit trade. Am I on the side account or the main one? Okay, I'm on the main one. Here we go. Trading portal. Give it a second. Trade derivatives. I mean, it's all right. It's all right. It's still kind of mind-boggling to me how good things can be if you're just patient enough. Here comes the pump. I mean, it's okay. 𝗵𝗂's still down a bit here. It scared the crap out of me, man. I had to zoom in for a little second. I was afraid the XRP position was gone, but it's still here. So again, this was our $1,300 to about $65,000 trade. Oh, this was even better before, huh? I want to take this to 100K though. Otherwise, it's not really cool. 𝗵𝗂 easily passing 𝗕𝗓. I think, honest truth, I do believe it could do that. Whoa, wait a minute. Bitcoin is coming back up. This is even better for our alts, guys. Because if Bitcoin but then again, if Bitcoin makes a good slashing right now, our alts will also not have a good time. But if Bitcoin is actually recovering here, still doing pretty good, it could mean that this allows for our alts again to sweep back up from these lows. Then again, some of y'all, whoever caught the freaking move to 305, man, you guys must be freaking, dancing out there right now. Oh. We're already up 5% from that dip. Damn. That would have been amazing. I wonder how many of y'all caught that dip. Another funny thing I should add here. You realize that, everybody has the same opportunity here. Some people have less money than others, sure. With the power of leverage still, you can sometimes make a pretty good penny still out of almost nothing. But my point is, a lot of people have the exact same opportunity. It's just how you use it. Because I look sometimes at what some of my friends are doing and just how much profit they're making P&L wise in terms of percentage. And I still realize, what did they do? All they did was just wait a good amount of time for the right opportunity and they struck hard. So for example, they went at the 305 mark then with significant capital at one point because they felt strongly about it. And again, if you're wrong, you're going to feel it. But if you're right, well, that's again sometimes where greatness comes on in. And that's where I said before, where again, a lot of people, they settle for a really, really mediocre. And I personally do too, where I don't want the stress of once you enter with, for example, now $5 million here at 305, if it breaks down, every single 10% it goes down, it's $500,000, right? It's not fun, right? To me at least. But some people they don't give a crap. They just want the freaking gains and they don't care what happens in the meantime. And a good example is Ponzi here. Man, sometimes the swings, this is not a large, okay. Let me say it differently. It's a large swing for our derivatives account, specifically because it was so many hours ago, meaning it got even worse. But it's not that large a swing, specifically not for him, because his P&L can easily be more than $1 million a day, with the prices going up and down. But again, these are also people that want to take the freaking best out of the pot. Enter big, make big money, make big bucks. What is this?
It's easy. I learned.
I don't know if that's copyrighted. What's this? I saved all these videos earlier today. Okay, this is a very quiet one. I have to put my volume a little bit louder. But I can't, no, I can't do that. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is I am not going to speak for about 30 seconds. After this video is done, so you can put your volume up a little bit, I will wait another few seconds for you to put your volume down, right? And then I'll speak again. So let's do that.
$8 trillion. They want to own some as a hedge against the $37, $8 trillion. They want to own of debt. They want to own it for their kids. And you know who else feels that way? Me. I don't want that debt. My kids, I'm worried about my kids. Worried about your kids? 38 trillion.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
So then
in so many different ways.
Why don't you buy some Bitcoin or ETH, buy some ETH? Own some as a hedge against.
All right. I think that should be okay. Could you guys hear it at all, or was it way too quiet? If it was still too quiet, I'm gonna have to. Oh. John says, "Don't touch the volume." That dude's head looks huge. Wait, could you guys hear it? Yes or no? I'm a bit afraid of touching the volume, you know. Oh, she.
Against the $37, $8 trillion. They want to own of debt. They want to own it for their kids. And you know who else feels that way? Me. I don't want that debt. My kids, I'm worried about my kids.
It's not really. I put it at 400% volume. Maybe if I even put 500% volume. It's still not that great. Wait, let me do it like this. Let me do 900% volume. It's plus 19 decibels.
Own some as a hedge against the $37, $8 trillion. They want to own of debt. They want to own it for their kids. And you know who else feels that way? Me. I don't want that debt. My kids, I'm worried about my.
That was perfect? Okay. I need to do it like a little bit just to be sure. And John is in this chat looking at me all the time like, just go with the volume again. Well, last time we played, last time.
Own some as a hedge against the $37, $8 trillion. They want to own of debt. They want to own it for their kids. And you know who else feels that way? Me. I don't want that debt. My kids, I'm worried about my kids. Worried about your kids? 38 trillion.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
So
in so many different ways.
Why don't you buy some Bitcoin or ETH, buy some ETH? Own.
So, in my own personal humble opinion, this guy's freaking useless. Like, really, for the most part, I don't know. It just feels like he goes with whatever is easiest at the time. It's like follow the money. You know, that idea of. Actually, follow the money goes in every direction, but it's basically that people don't care about you, your whole initiative, nothing, unless there's money in it. With him, it's like, oh, Bitcoin's amazing. Oh, Bitcoin. So if the price is amazing, he's like, yeah, you should have some Bitcoin. Everybody should get some. Oh, Bitcoin's so good. Yeah, but he goes on a tangent that way. Some Bitcoin's coming down. He's like, of course you should sell Bitcoin. Short the living crap out of that. It's just a bubble. The bubble's going to pop. Bitcoin is freaking stupid. Yeah, I told you Bitcoin's going to crash. Matter of fact, Bitcoin is going to freaking zero. Then once the price comes back up a little bit, breaks the 𝗬𝗓, says, yeah, man, I actually never sold my Bitcoin. I've been holding this Bitcoin for a long time, thinking of a really far future for Bitcoin. I mean, we've seen BlackRock supporting it and Bitcoin. It's literally how I feel about this guy. It's literally that's his freaking story. Wes B saying, Let's be playing saying, I'm looking a Toyota Corolla for my kid to drive, not a Beamer. You want to know a fun fact? You can actually get a Toyota Corolla that's way more expensive than a freaking BMW. So I don't know what exactly you're trying to say with that. Kramer and inverse Kramer, both BS, noise irrelevant. Hey, fair. Leo says Kramer is rich. He can buy the top and still be rich. You can buy the top and still be rich. Anybody could. Jason says you'll lose viewers if you show him more. It's okay. All right. I've learned a while back, you just got to show whatever you want to show. And if people don't like it, we'll have to just accept that. XRP is dropping. But then when you take a look at the drop, it went that much. But actually afterwards, the price did drop a pretty good bit though. I'm not going to lie. Like if we're talking real numbers, it was a pretty good drop. By the way, guys, if you've not done it yet, here's me looking up 𝗕𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀, by the way. Make sure you go ahead and press the like button on this stream. You don't have to. And nothing's going to happen if you do. But you should. You know? You should make sure you press that like button. It's just, it's just a nice thing to do. Help a brother out, Help me out by pressing that like button. Right now, if you press it, right now, you watch it. Right now, you're right there. All right, you'll see this number go from 129, to 130. Just by you, one person, pressing that button. So I'm going to be waiting here for you to press that button. Because the moment you do, it's going to go from 129 to 130. Just give it a second, I'll give it a second. I'm going to wait for you to press that button. In the meantime, I'll continue on. But just know I'm going to be waiting for you. I'm going to be waiting for you to press that button. Just you. Only you. Right? Nobody else. Just you. And you're thinking, oh, somebody else was. No. I'm talking to you right there. I know there's 450 people watching. It should be way higher already. But for some reason, it's not. Anyway, so this is actually quite interesting. XRP longs obliterated, next leg up incoming. Essentially, when we talk about these moves to the downside, do you know that for the most part, we call these things quite positive, especially for new people getting in? Because the moment a lot of people get wrecked, usually, funnily enough, that's when the price starts going absolutely crazy. When you think about it, right, you might say, oh, but if longs get wrecked, doesn't that mean there's less pressure for the upside? And arguably, that's true. But essentially, the more of these freaking longs that get taken out, the more likely it is that it was one of y'all, and then afterwards the price could pump, Because the likelihood is very much there that the moment you decide to buy, all that happens is you exactly get wicked out, and then they start freaking sending it. That's always what happens. You had a stop loss, it just barely gets hit. You had a liquidation price, it just barely gets hit, and then it just starts flying up and up and up with no more stop. Anyway, what do we got today? Where's everybody watching from? Today is a little bit of an interesting day. Not that big of a crowd. Then again, it's also late at night. So I'm thinking, where's everybody watching from? For me, it's about 10. And I actually expected there to be more people. But the funny thing is, maybe, just maybe, right? It's because it's through the week. But also because when prices are coming down, people don't really like to look at it. They like to look at it when things are going up. Arguably, that's true. It's true. Yeah, I don't even remember what I was saying. That's another funny thing when you're streaming. You say so much in a very short amount of time because you're speaking to a lot of people, right? That you very often forget. Now, I have no idea what this part was about the arguably true. I don't even remember the last topic we had. All I'm thinking of now is, for example, I got to look at these countries, and the next thing, hey, I just saw this like go down one. Somebody retracted it. Guys, let's get those likes up above 200. Seattle. But by the way, Flare does not seem to have been phased by the dip. Yeah, some coins are not, or potentially would have gone up even more had it not been for the dip. But that's mostly temporary, though, right? It doesn't necessarily say anything about the future price. Hello, Thailand. Love, Malaysia. Is it Thailand or Malaysia? Or did you just say, hello, Thailand. I love Malaysia. We got Florida. We got the moon, of course, a few in there every single time. Wisconsin, baby. Ohio. Mayo says holding for the long, so it's all good. USA. Watching from center of Canada. Center of Canada. People live there. What did I miss? Why is it trending down? Normal market behavior. Dusty, what are your thoughts on whatever coin? No idea. Diogo Barros Patrinho. Brazil, 10 p.m. Brazil. Gotta play the Pump It Up song from last week. How long are you staying then? How long are you staying this solage? All right. Interesting. Marine says, do it. Ace says, we only play the Pump It Up song in a pump. Yeah, you can't play that song when the market's like a little bit down. You know, it's going to ruin the freaking, it's going to ruin the vibes. Happy birthday to all the Leos tomorrow. Tomorrow is my birthday. Yay. Amazing. I'm happy for you. You know, I've not heard a person being so happy for their birthday in a while. Bryce says the bots filter bags. I mean, they're always doing that, right? But theoretically speaking, this is the best time for them to grid it out when the market's this volatile. I mean, you can look at the transactions. You can just look for fun. Just 2 days, 3 days, able to 1,400 rounds, 2,200 rounds, 3,600 rounds. It's just been going crazy in terms of how often it's been trading. And you can see, for example, the Solana bot has been doing a lot of freaking purchases. Average transactions a day, 500. That is interesting, man. Whereas the ADA bot has like 50. And Solana's 500 trades a day. Curve, also 500. Wow. And again, it's a percentage game, right? So for example, Curve, in 5 days, we're up 7% of what it's been able to cash out. The unrealized P&L, for the most part, this is just, if we were to have Curve, for example, or dollars, because this is the coin margins one, the one where you actually have the BTC or whatever, right? All we had to do is just basically hold on, right? And this is whatever's been able to cash out. And over time, as long as the Bitcoin price goes back to where it was originally at, it should be a pretty good idea. Not financial advice, but. Ricky says, Dusty, your videos haven't showed up in my feed since the early SEC lawsuit days. Glad everyone is back to making money. If you didn't load up an XRP at sub 0.40, I don't know why. Yeah, we've been doing pretty good for XRP. I mean, XRP right now is still my biggest bag. And I bought another good chunk today. Jefe says, you need a dump song, low-key. I don't know. I don't think we're making anybody happy if we're starting to freaking wish for the prices to go down further. There's some people who are sidelined who want to buy lower. But I don't know. I feel as if most people just secretly want it to go up. John says, seriously thinking about trying the bots. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you right there. You know, just think about it intuitively. It does make sense. You can try it out, theoretically speaking, on paper first. Toby says, my ears are still ringing from yesterday. Yeah, I messed up a little bit. All right? You know, I'm going to have to admit where admissions are due. I messed up a little bit right there. Do your own music, Dusty. Pump It Up by Dusty. The problem is, you know, I'm a little bit too perfectionistic when it comes to that. Like, if I actually go for a song like that and it sounds so freaking ass, I'd be disappointed. But if I really want to make it good, that's a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like, let's say I make this song and it's just like 3 Dusties like next to each other. You know, pump it. Like, you know, ain't nobody gonna listen to that. Even me, I would be like, I gotta put this freaking shit back on. But let's say I did want to make it sound good. It's gonna be a lot of effort. And at that point, I feel like it's a bit try-hardy. It's like, why do I not make a song so bad? When it's just, you know, so maybe I should just do that. You know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Just this one. Only that. All right, Crispy coming in with some depressing thoughts. You pass your doomsday basically every year as well. Hey, you don't even know it. All right. The chances of being taken out by a sheep are never zero. I mean, maybe they're sometimes zero, depending on how you see it. But the chance that a sheep is going to end you is not zero. You got to think about that, right? You got to realize that. The chance that you right now going down because of the way you're sitting, it's not zero. Radical coming back in with the freaking part. Why do you keep saying? Man, I really wonder what's going on in some of y'all's. Why do you keep coming back saying I'm from Puerto Rico? But more importantly, what is it with the undercover thing? Why do you keep coming back every time to say that? Every single time I look. But you are from Puerto Rico. Or is it a bot? But it can't be a bot, right? You know what I am missing? That other bot who usually is in the chat telling all these stories. Do you remember who I'm talking about? I don't know his name anymore, but there's somebody in here every freaking time. I wonder if somebody banned him. You know, one of the mods banned him or something. My birthday is on Christmas. Know how many times I've gone out to Chinese food on my birthday? Like 3 times maybe? I don't know. I have no freaking idea, bro. I don't know. Maybe you live in China. You go out for Chinese food every freaking day. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you're in another country. You've never even gotten Chinese. Maybe you're in India. Do they have Chinese food in India? Probably, right? Wait a minute. I mean, they have Indian food in China. I've never heard somebody trying out Chinese food in India, though. Or, it's a good question. I'm joking, by the way. They must have it. The Chinese and Indians are everywhere. They always set up a shop somewhere. But I ain't never heard it before in my life. Never. You should go check it out. I think I'm okay for now. Leo says Dusty was talking about SEC and the Fed knocking on his door in 2021. Yeah, those are good old times. Richard says, is there anything hopeful in the XRP ETF situation in the short term? Much respect from Australia. Coming to 5 Australian dollars. Appreciate that, Richard. Well, in my own humble opinion, if an XRP ETF were to be launched, it would bring a lot of excitement with it. And so pretty quickly, it'd ramp up a lot of money, and most likely it would ramp up some serious popularity. The counter is all that popularity relative for BlackRock, for their Bitcoin ETF might still not be that much. I mean, Ethereum, for example, is doing good for them, but not groundbreakingly good. But that might change once Ethereum goes for a massive run. And that's the interesting part. Maybe in times like this as well, this is where an XRP ETF would shine. But if the XRP ETF gets launched and the price does nothing, it's arguably not going to be one of their most profitable ones, right? But if all of a sudden after it gets launched, the price goes so crazy, that could be cool. But if you're wondering if we're going to get an ETF in this near term, I have not checked out the updates. I don't really know what's next on the horizon, like what the deadlines are in that sense. I don't know for right now. All I know is it's taken a long freaking time. Your amigo says, Dusty, if you wanted to move $1 million in a day to your bank, what website or exchange would you use? That's a good question. I don't know. If OTC is not your thing, which a lot of countries it isn't, but depends on which country you're in, I really don't know what the limits are for all these exchanges. I've literally never used it to cash out to a bank. And what you use in the UAE or freaking, I don't know, Zimbabwe is all going to be different as well. There are Chinese food and Chinese too in India, even native Africans. Okay, Indian expert. But I was joking, by the way, but thank you, Mr. Indian expert. We're seeing a slight recovery, okay? Things are a bit okay here. John says, can't wait for Ripple to IPO. Grandkids will be set. I don't really know why people want Ripple to IPO so bad either. Just because you want to buy in, or what's the main principle there? Because what is the IPO itself going to bring so much for us? Like, why is that so exciting? If Ripple gets their bank, just go there, I guess. That's pretty funny. But no, don't get me wrong. I see a lot of good things in a Ripple IPO. But I wonder what you guys see in that's making y'all so excited for that, or why your grandkids would be set in that sense. I'm I'm stuck. It's a good question. But regardless, you know what, guys? I just wanted to quickly discuss in the chat here, though, what was going on with the price. We've been going for about an hour or some. I'm going to go eat some, all right? I've noticed it as well. There's not really that much to talk about because the price ain't doing too much. Slowly but surely, Bitcoin is picking it back up, which I could say is arguably quite exciting. But it's back down below 190 now as well. So if something crazy happens, I'll be back yet again with another stream. I also got to think now, am I going to go to a different country or am I going to go extend my hotel again? I don't know. I have to think about this. So I'll see you guys again probably somewhere tomorrow, unless again I decide to fly out. But then again, unless I fly really early, I'll still probably see you tomorrow. I'll make videos for sure anyway though, so don't worry about that. Yeah, I'll have to see. But boys, that was it for right now. Hopefully you see you guys again tomorrow on another stream, or at least another few videos. And somebody says, what do you think, under 3? I to some extent hope we go under 3. I could buy a good bag, but I still don't think the bull market is over. And I still refer back to what I said earlier, which is in a bull market, all we look for is opportunities to long. And if you accidentally oversize or over-entered a bit too high, you got to adjust it, but that's about it. That's all I do. Just buy and wait, buy and wait, buy and wait. Not financial advice. Nothing here is guaranteed, but that was just my opinion. Yeah, I think if we look back at this in a while, we'll laugh at how low these things were. Yeah, that's just me.